Hello, I'm Stephanie Babbitts, Project Director of SPAN's START project. I'm joined today by Beth Cosentino, Project Coordinator. Our presentation today is Parent Involvement in Special Education, Overview of Rights. The QR code on the screen will take you to our resources for this presentation. The link can also be found in the recording description. Please refer to the resources throughout the presentation. The START project is a collaboration between the New Jersey Department of Education, Office of Special Education, and SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. Our workshop goals are as follows: gain increased knowledge of the special education process, explain the importance of parent involvement in the special education process, and identify strategies and resources to foster parent involvement and effective communication in the special education process. This presentation is an overview of the basic rights and responsibilities of parents who have children receiving special education services and is designed to give you a basic understanding of the process and parental rights. Please note, SPAN offers in-depth workshops on many of the topics that we will be touching on today. Words about SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. SPAN's mission is to empower and support families and inform and involve professionals interested in the healthy development and education of children and youth. Our foremost commitment is to children and families with the greatest needs. SPAN's motto is engaged, parent, educated, engaged, effective. To learn more about SPAN's projects and programs, please visit spanadvocacy.org.
Hello, I'm Beth Cosentino, Project Coordinator for the START project. I'm now going to talk to you about the basic rights of IDEA. IDEA stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This law ensures that children with disabilities receive a free, appropriate public education, or FAPE, F-A-P-E, in the least restrictive environment, LRE. It also provides parents with the right to participate in the development of their child's individualized education program, IEP. An IEP team is made up of the parent, the student when appropriate, and representatives of the school district. For a list of acronyms related to special education, please refer to the resource folder shared at the start of this presentation. Now let's talk about your role and responsibilities as the parent in the process. They are as follows. You are an equal partner in decision-making with a right to give or withhold consent for each evaluation and for initial services. You are to be at every decision-making meeting, and you are to share your concerns for enhancing your child's education. Now let's take a look at a tool for parent involvement called the Positive Student Profile. This tool provides information about the strengths, challenges, and successes that your child comes to school with. It's a great way to introduce your child to new teachers and can be shared with fellow IEP team members. You would fill this out, and to work on self-advocacy skills, you can have your child help fill it out with you. Now let's take a look at the special education delivery cycle. We're going to focus on each step to provide you with a better understanding of how it works. Step 1 is identification. Step 2, evaluation. Step 3, determination of eligibility. Step 4, the development of the Individualized Education Program, or IEP. Step 5, the implementation of the IEP. Step 6, monitoring the IEP. And Step 7, annual review and/or 3-year evaluation, which then sends us back to determining eligibility. So there's the cycle. The QR code on the screen will link you to this graphic, and it's also in the resource folder. Now, Stephanie will go over identification more thoroughly with you now.
Step 1, identification. Leading up to identification is a referral. A referral is a written request for an evaluation that is given to the school district when a child is suspected of having a disability and might need special education services. If you believe that your child may have a disability, you may refer your child for an evaluation by submitting a written request to your school district. Your letter should be addressed to the Director of Special Education, and they will refer it to the appropriate person in the district to handle the request. Who can make a referral? Parents, and it must be in writing, school personnel, and agencies concerned with the welfare of students. Once a referral is made, a meeting must be held within 20 days to determine the need for an evaluation. At the meeting will be the parent, a member of the child's study team, and the child's teacher. If the decision is made to evaluate, there will be a discussion of testing needs. If not evaluating, then there will be a discussion about other services and interventions available to the student. As part of the first steps of identification, you are asked to provide your consent to evaluate. You must provide written consent to the initial evaluation and all future evaluations. If you do not consent, the district cannot evaluate, but may request an impartial hearing. So, what happens once you give consent? Once you provide written consent, the district can begin to evaluate the student. Here's a tip. Be sure to get a copy of the consent form before you leave the meeting. This contains all the information of what evaluations will be done. In addition, ask to be notified at least 24 hours in advance of the scheduled evaluation so that you may adequately prepare your child. You want them to be well rested and have a good breakfast. In addition, this keeps you informed of how the evaluations are progressing to be sure they are within the required timelines. Well, what happens if you do not give consent? If you disagree with the proposed initial evaluation and will not give consent, the school district cannot proceed. However, if the district wants to proceed with an evaluation, they must ask for a due process hearing to obtain consent from an administrative law judge. At the due process hearing, the administrative law judge will decide if your child can be evaluated without your consent.
Step 2 is evaluation. The initial evaluation of a child is required by IDEA before any special education and related services can be provided to that child. The purposes of conducting this evaluation are straightforward. To see if the child is a child with a disability as defined by IDEA, to gather information that will help determine the child's educational needs, and to guide decision-making about appropriate educational programming for the child. Evaluation continued. At least 2, but can be more, evaluations must be conducted. Evaluations may not discriminate against a child and should be conducted in the child's home language. Evaluations must be conducted in all areas of suspected disability, and reports should be sent to parents at least 10 days before the eligibility meeting. You have a right for your child to have an independent evaluation at the district's expense if you disagree with their evaluation. You do not need to explain your disagreement, and the district cannot deny your request for an independent evaluation. It must grant it or request a hearing to prove its evaluation is appropriate. Your request must be in writing. Step 3, eligibility. How is eligibility determined? When the evaluation is completed, eligibility is determined collaboratively at a meeting according to the New Jersey Administrative Code. To be eligible for special education and related services, a student must have a disability according to one of the eligible categories. The categories are listed in our resource folder. The disability must adversely affect the student's education performance, and the student must be in need of special education and related services. The Individualized Education Program, or IEP team, is made up of parent, at least one general education teacher, someone qualified to provide or supervise special education, someone who can interpret evaluation results, someone who can make commitments on behalf of the district, and the student when appropriate. Parents are equal members of the IEP team. With parental written consent, a member of the team may be excused from the meeting if they provide written information to the team in advance of the meeting. A request for excusal must be in writing and should be sent with the notice of the meeting. The Individualized Education Program, or the IEP, is a written plan that describes the child's special education program in detail. It should focus on how the student's disability affects their ability to be involved and progress in the general education curriculum. Components of the IEP are as follows: PLAF, presence levels of academic achievement and functional performance. The PLAF is a narrative section that describes a student's learning and educational needs. IEP goals are statements that describe what knowledge, skills, and/or behaviors a student is expected to achieve within the year the IEP will be in effect. The IEP must include measurable annual goals consistent with the student's needs and abilities as identified in the student's present levels of performance. Special education services includes specially designed instruction or supplementary aids and services. The IEP must contain a statement of the special education and related services and supplementary aids and services to be provided to the child or on behalf of the child. That's three separate, distinct, and critical elements: special education, related service, and supplementary aids and services. Placement decisions should be based on educating the student in the least restrictive environment appropriate. Here are more components of the IEP: parental concerns, transition plan, participation in assessment, student needs such as behavior, language, communication, assistive technology, extended school year, participation in non-academic activities, and needs of students who have visual or hearing impairments.
Step 5, IEP implementation. Your child has the right to be educated in the least restrictive environment, or LRE, where their IEP can be implemented and they can make progress toward their annual goals. All students, regardless of their disability, are to be educated in age-appropriate general education classes in their neighborhood school. All necessary supports are provided to students and educators to ensure meaningful participation in the total school community. The continuum of placement: general education class full-time, general education class with pull-out, self-contained class, out-of-district public or private placement, home or hospital instruction, and residential placement. Once the IEP has been developed, the team asks, how can we implement this IEP in the general education classroom with supports and services? Or, is there any reason why this IEP cannot be implemented in the general education classroom with supports and services? Any decision to remove a child from the general education classroom must be justified in writing in the IEP. Parental consent. You must consent to the initial IEP before it can be implemented. If you do not consent to the IEP, the district no longer has the obligation to provide a FAPE. Parents can withdraw consent for services. Not signing the IEP at the annual review meeting does not stop its implementation. Step 6, progress monitoring. The IEP requires a statement of what methods will be used to inform parents of student progress. This can include report cards, progress reports, conferences, phone calls, emails, daily checklists, etc. A statement or schedule of the frequency for each method used is also required. Parents have the right to be regularly informed of how their child is progressing toward mastering the goals in the IEP, and those progress reports should reflect how the child is progressing toward each goal in the IEP. Step 7, annual IEP, review and reevaluation. Every year, the IEP team meets to review the past year and develop an IEP for the upcoming school year. And every 3 years, the IEP team meets to determine whether the student continues to be eligible for special education services. Now let's talk about student involvement. It's fundamentally important. The capacity for participation varies, and there's advantages and challenges that come with participation. Nothing about me without me. This popular refrain says it all. The student is a critical part of the annual review process and should be included as much as possible and as early as possible. The advantages of participation. It provides a vital opportunity for student to be understood, takes student preferences directly into account, enhances students' ability to articulate needs to service providers, fosters student empowerment, elevates civility of process, encourages positive strength-based discussion, creates new relationships, ensures presence of a key participant in design and implementation of an effective agreement.
Now let's talk a little bit about procedural safeguards. Safeguards ensure that the rights of children with disabilities and their parents are protected, that students with disabilities and their parents are provided with the information they need to make decisions about the provision of FAPE, or free appropriate public education, and that procedures and mechanisms are in place to resolve disagreements between parties. Here are a few best practices for IEP meetings. Share your child's strengths. Gather and review information ahead of time. List goals you would like your child to achieve. Advocate for your child. Keep the discussion child-focused. Work collaboratively. Maintain contact throughout the year and know what is in your child's IEP, and stay involved. It's also a good idea to teach your child self-advocacy from the start by explaining each step of the process to your child. Help your child understand their strengths and needs. Bring your child to IEP meetings. Encourage your child to express hopes, dreams, visions, and goals. Have high but realistic expectations for your child. Get everything in writing. Ask for what you want in writing. Keep logs and copies of everything. Bring someone with you. Don't be afraid to ask or speak up. And stay on top of your child's progress.
Thank you for joining us. Please scan the QR codes to get information about the START project and also to follow us on Eventbrite. You can also see on the screen information about where to find us on social media. Thank you again.